So if you're new to this channel, my name is Alex and I live in Courchevel and I try to make boring subjects slightly more interesting. And with that in mind, here is a review of the hotels in Courchevel 1850. Bienvenue and welcome to 150 Days of Winter. Hello! 7 screws, 1 plate. Now, instead of just walking around town and boringly pointing out hotels, I thought we would have a game of Monopoly, or as I'm going to call it for this video, Courchopoly. Now, of course, I must add some huge disclaimers here. I'm sure people will have their own opinions about where certain hotels come and on the board. Unfortunately, there's not enough space on the board to put every hotel in Courchevel on it, so some are missing. And of course, I'm sure people will complain about this. However, this is my video and this is my board, okay? If it's any consolation, and this is me getting slightly nerdy, if you want to see how messed up the English Monopoly board was, there is another channel called Jules Guides of London, and he makes a really good point about how the board does not compare to actual London at all. And number 2, this is very important, I'm not going to mention pricing. It just gets too complicated. High season, low season, whether you book direct or through booking.com or any other site, it just gets too complicated. So you know what, no pricing. We're basically going to start at cheap and we're going to end at most expensive, relatively. So let's start on the board and with the Brown, I believe it's called. So of course, the first hotel on the board, I'm going to say the cheapest, not the cheapest one in Courchevel, but the cheapest one for everything that we have to say, and it's the Mont Chavin, which takes its name from Bernard Chavin, who of course owns the building. Back in my day, of course, this was run by, this was a chalet hotel run by a British company called Cheval. It's come a long way since then. So of course behind me we have the Hotel Courchevel, which of course is one of the last hotels you come to up the Bellecote Piste. Great old terrace outside. If you're wondering how the hell do you get to that hotel, well, there's a tunnel that runs underneath the Piste. Very handy when you break your ankle and you need to go and get taken back down to resort. So just on the other side of the Piste from the Chabochou, we have what says the Pom de Par. After it was taken over by the Turina group, it's now been renamed slightly to the Pom, and they were quite famous for their seafood restaurant, which is now called La Plage. Behind me we have the Grand Hotel de Rond-Point de Piste. They've dropped the last bit of Rond-Point de Piste because rond-point in English means roundabout, which isn't a very good name to have for your Swiss hotel. Yeah, so mainly it's called the Grand Hotel now. It got the name probably because in the old days, the original lift that came up from Le Prat stopped on the left-hand side of the hotel. So it really was the roundabout of the Piste. Just across the Piste, we have the Hotel de Trois Vallées, which is just in the shadow of the Stade de Slalom, and of course the new Ineos clubhouse. This is part of the Baumier group. Apart from that, I don't really have any information to say about it. So, moving on to the second side of the board and into the pink, we have the rather quirky Snow Lodge Hotel, okay, formerly called the San Louis. This is now, I think they describe themselves as an art hotel. They are covered with and full of modern art, which not to everyone's taste, but it's, you know, nice to be different instead of just doing the same. For me, this has a special place. Back in 1991, this was the first hotel I stayed in when I first came to Courchevel, and I stayed with Blatant Lines. So yes, there you go. Of course, bringing us to the Hotel Bellecote, one of the original hotels in Courchevel. So old, they named the Piste after it. I am, of course, joking. It's a lovely old hotel, and it exudes Savoyard style. Unfortunately, this year it is not open. However, very nice old 4-star hotel. So now we come to the Hotel de la Loze, which is owned and run by the Fenestra family, and in 2019 was completely refurbished. So because of COVID, it will be almost like a brand new hotel. And as you can see, situated right by the Piste. Excellent. Right in the middle of town, you have the K2jala Hotel, which, to put in perspective, is their like budget hotel with only 4 stars. I mean, really 4 stars. And of course, if you're wondering what a jola is, I believe it is a dialect used in Senegal and around that region, although I may be wrong. Anyway, yeah, K2jala. As we move right into the centre of town, we have White 1921, which is the sister hotel of the Cheval Blanc, which we'll talk about later, and of course part of the LVMH group, which of course answers the question about all the boutiques that are below it and opposite it. Say no more. So behind me, the Hotel San Joseph, built in the year 2000, after they demolished the Hotel Tournier. Surprisingly, it's still owned by the Tournier group. Of course, the Hotel Tournier, most famous for having the Bar L'Equipe underneath it. Those who've been in Courchevel long enough will know what Bar L'Equipe was. Anyway, San Joseph. Everyone knows, of course, there is no free parking in Courchevel, and these guys behind me will tow your car faster than you can say, I'm only here for 5 minutes. Or even, I've broken my leg and I can't move my car. Hey, so behind me we have the very white Chabichou Hotel. It actually changed ownership last year or maybe the year before, hard to tell with COVID. This is famous for its 2-star Michelin restaurant, which is chefed by Stéphane Bourron. I can genuinely say that was the most expensive and the best meal that I've ever eaten. My wallet didn't seem to think so, but everything else was excellent. So behind me, I have the very nice 5-star Strato Hotel. Most noticeable for, and here we go, another Michelin star restaurant, the Bourmanier. Only 1 star, but still very good restaurant. So yeah, there you go, the Hotel Strato. Okay, so owned and run by World Cup ski champion Alexis Pintrou's family, the Annapurna is the highest hotel in Courchevel, just below the bottom of the Altiport runway. Opened in 1974, the Hotel Annapurna is so named because of a lifelong friendship with Maurice Herzog, famous mountain climber who ascended the Annapurna in the 1950s. André Pintreau, Alexis' father, decided to name the hotel after his friend. So on the other side of town we have another Tournier property, the Lana Hotel, built back in 1958. This has the distinction of being the first 4-star hotel to open in Courchevel. Of course, now it has 5 stars. So the Grand Alpes Hotel opened its doors in 1948, making it one of the earliest hotels to have opened. It apparently opened on the same day that the first lift was opened in Courchevel. Nowadays, the Grand Alpes has turned into a private hotel where you can stay in one of the 9 luxury apartments, which range from 150 meters squared to 300 meters squared. Back in 2001, the current Kilimanjaro Hotel was built, now renamed the K2 Altitude. It's the 3rd highest hotel in Courchevel. It's comprised of 11 chalets, all built around a central structure, a very novel practice at the time, although has been copied many times. Feature a Michelin star restaurant called the Montgomery, named after a mountaineer who named the K2 mountain. And as you can see, They have some rather nice Lamborghinis parked outside. Of course, that brings us to the Go to Jail Square, which of course on this board is completely superfluous, because we all know that the ultra wealthy never go to jail. Even if they were, let's say, hypothetically caught in a drug-fueled orgy with a hotel full of Russian hookers, students, sorry, hypothetically that is. So then we have the Barrière de Neige, what was renamed after it was renovated from being called the Hotel de Neige. Of course, having a large bee outside and a large illuminated teddy bear, it's very hard to miss. The Hotel Apogee, one of Courchevel's more recent builds, courtesy of French billionaire Xavier Niel, who is the majority shareholder, I believe, in a French ISP called Free Internet. Fun fact as well, he also goes out with, I think, Bernard Arnault's sister, which just shows all these billionaires go out with each other. And of course that brings us to the Cheval Blanc, which of course is owned by one of the richest men in the world, Bernard Arnault, who owns the LVMH group, okay, with a mirrored horse outside and a Louis Vuitton boutique downstairs. Not much more has to be said. Cheval Blanc is actually named after a vineyard that the group owns. Okay, and if that wasn't enough, they are home to the only Michelin 3-star restaurant in Courchevel, 1947. So back in 2011, Lazarel, along with Cheval Blanc, became the first hotels to be granted the distinction of palace status, which is the highest level you can get in France. It has a rather unique, like, Austria-Hungarian style, and back in 2007, 2008, it was bought by its current owner for 80 million euros. Last summer, Lazarel expanded across the road and went and built 3 chalets offering an even more exclusive service. They've even almost taken over most of the road. Which leaves us with the K2 Palace, which fittingly is in the final square of the board. I don't know how I can best describe this in terms of luxury. Not one, but two 2-star Michelin restaurants, the Quintessence and the Sakara. The Sakara, I think, is the first 2-star Michelin dessert restaurant available. I don't know what more I can say. They also have a purple Lamborghini Urus as a courtesy vehicle. I think that says it all. So here we are, right back at the start square. I will not, unfortunately, collect 200 euros for passing go. However, 65 hotel stars, 12 Michelin stars, 5 palaces, 3 yurts, and a partridge in a pear tree. If you have enjoyed this little video, then please consider subscribing to the channel. It really does help. Click the like button down below. Leave me a comment if you think that I'd misplaced the hotel. And on that, I will see you all in the next video. Ciao.